Hello, tips for Warhammer beginners. You watched, of course. You played Space Marine 2 or watched some lore videos, and now you're interested or some battle reports, and now you are hyped and interested. I want to build my Warhammer 40k army. Then that is for you. In the background, you see some of my guardsmen. First, what you need to build a model, and yes, you have to build them. You can, of course, go to eBay and buy second-hand models. If you want to save money, that's probably a good idea. But in most time, you have to build and paint them yourself. And you need a clipper, something like this, because these models came in sprues, and you have to clip them out of the sprue. You need a knife to clean that a little bit, and sometimes you have some mold lines, and then you have to clean them too. And you need glue. Some models are push fit, you can just put them together, but most you have to glue. And I would advise you to buy some model glue. For example, I use this Revell Glue. They melt their plastic a little bit and they get a very strong bondage connection, however you want to call this. Be careful, there are different kinds of material. Some models, some older models, for example, are made of resin, and this plastic glue don't work on resin. Then you need super glue, but I would prefer that. So you must be careful which materials your model is, but most times you get a plastic glue works. Of course, you need paint, because the models came in gray sprues, and they're gray normally. And of course, some sand and basing materials, some skull. Of course, you need a lot of skulls to put on your base, and yes. Next point, you need to choose a faction. You probably have an idea if you want to start Warhammer 40k, which factions you want to play, but this is important. I have few ideas which factions are, in my opinion, easier to start. For example, Space Marines, because they are in all starter boxes. You have some Space Marines, they have a lot of models, a big range of models. You can build everything you want. You can build a tank army, you can build elite infantry army, you can build a melee army, and you have a lot of different chapters where you can choose from. For example, if you like more medieval knight style, you can build dark angels, and they have some really cool new models. You can build everything you want, and because they are old faction, a lot of models are even available second hand, and they are a little bit cheaper, because in every starter edition they are. And you get a lot of Space Marines. They're a little bit cheaper than other factions. Similar Chaos Space Marines, they are the evil Space Marines. Everything in Warhammer 40k is evil, but they are more evil. And they are a little bit the spiky Space Marines. And for them you have even similar type of options. You can build a tank army, you can build an infantry army, you can build a mutant army, you can build a cultist army, you can even build a traitor guard army. They have some kill team kits where you can get the guardsmen and give them other weapons, or make them more spiky and give them more skulls. There you have a lot of options. Another idea for beginners are the Custodes, are these golden boys, because they are really easy to paint. Just spray them in gold, give them the red, make the red parts red, and then probably highlight them a little bit or give them a little bit of wash, and then you are fine. And another advantage of Custodes, you see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Custodes models. The game is played in points. You build your army, you have to decide before you want to play the game how many points you want to play the game. And of course, if you play guardsmen, these are 10 guardsmen, they cost 60 points. And then you need a lot of these guardsmen. You have to build a lot of guardsmen, you have to buy a lot of guardsmen, you have to paint a lot of guardsmen. And something lots of new people even don't consider, you have to play a lot of guardsmen. You need a lot of time to move these all small pieces, and because every unit have to have a move, you need a lot of time to play a turn. And if you have, for example, they cost 60 points, the Custodes, I think 4 of them cost 180 points, so you have to move 4 models, and you have to move 40 models, and you have to, as I said, buy, build, paint 40 models. And the guardsmen are a little bit harder to paint because you have to have faces, you have to have hands, you have to have weapons, you have to have different kinds of color. Of course, you can do this with Custodes too, but I think they look battle ready and useful. And yes, for example, that's one idea because I prefer Custodes and they have a little bit easier playstyle in my opinion. Go to the enemy and kill them. And guard, you have to give them orders, and units have to support each other. We have much less of these mechanics in Custodes. And by the way, don't look which faction is good at the moment. If you start to build your army now, even except you are very, very fast, this would probably change in half in a few months. For example, I started to build the Custodes armies in late 23, and short after the new edition dropped, and then there was very powerful, and later there was very weak, and then there was very powerful again, and now they're a little bit mid-tier. And it's probably more important to play your faction well, to know your faction, than have a good faction. Of course, there are some points and some times when one faction is really weak against the other factions, but most time is how to know your faction is more important. And another idea, I don't translate this, sorry, knights. Knights are some robot-like big vehicles, tanks on legs. And one knight is, for example, cost more points than this whole Custodes squad. There are knights who cost 500 points, so you have built one model of your army. Probably not much fun to play with them if in the smaller games, but you get a really big army very fast if you build this just a few robots, and you can use them in all other factions as allies. Every faction can use one big knight, except the Xeno scum, but there are Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, and every Imperial army can use 3 smaller knights or 1 big knight. And for example, if you just build, and there are very Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights very similar. So if you build 3 small knights, and then you have to want to play Chaos Space, you can use them, and then you decide to want to play another Imperial faction, you can use them. So knights are probably a very good option to start a hobby too, but they're the kits are a little bit more expensive in my opinion. Another idea, just build some, first before you buy some 40k stuff, because the 40k stuff is really expensive. For example, this guardsman costs I think 40 euros, 50 euros, something like this. Buy something cheap, and especially if you never have built something before. If this is your first try in scale modeling, try something cheap. For example, this or Revell Panzer 2 from the Second World War costs you, I think, 10 euros, something even cheaper. And yes, you have to buy some colors, but you need these colors anyway. Of course, you need some black, some metal color. You can use the metal color for the guns, for example. This brown color is useful for every. Some models have, I don't have an example, have some straps or some pouches where you can use brown color. You have a face color you need anyway for the most models, and just some sand for the base. You can try to use them. If you can build this, you can build every 40k model. That's just a little bit back, a little bit idea. If you can't build them, if you try it, if you don't have fun in this, it's sad, but then you have a throwaway 10 euros, or if you included the colors, 20 euros, but if you buy a 40k kit, you have to invest much more, so probably a better idea to start with something really cheap, just give an idea, or how to cut things out of the sprue. Probably a better idea to start with something cheap, or you can build a Tiger tank from World War II, or build a fighter plane, or something like this, just to get an idea what you do. If you never did something like this, try it with something a little bit cheaper. So next, what buy first? Don't make the mistake. Go in a shop or go in an online shop and buy your whole army for a few hundred euros, and then see you don't have fun in building the stuff. That's the reason why I said build something easy and cheap first, and then try to build Warhammer for the cave. Never build something before. I see a lot of people who want to sell. I sell my project because I don't have time, I don't have fun in this. Start with something small. You can always buy more stuff if you finish some small units and then buy more. And it's a little bit more motivating for you. For example, if you buy a big box, you have a lot of sprues. Oh, wow. How can I ever build this? That's a little bit bad for your motivation. So start with something small and always buy more stuff. Yes. And I would prefer all factions have this small. If this is your first Warhammer kit, all factions have some small boxes with only a few models. They're a little bit cheaper than the bigger boxes. And you have, for example, 5 models of these Raptors, the Chaos Basements, 3 of these Custodes Terminators. You can use them in the game, and you can build more of them later, but you have at least the idea how is to build a Warhammer 40k kit. Another good idea, if you have say, yes, I want to do this, you can build by the starter kits. You have some tools, you have some paints, of course you need more, and you have a few models, and that's probably the cheapest way to get models with the starter kits, from Games Workshop, of course. If you buy them secondhand, they're cheaper, of course. And by the way, you don't have to buy a Warhammer from Games Workshop, even if you buy from other online shops. You get 20, at least in Germany, 20%, the models 30% cheaper. The same from Games Workshop. That's something was new to me when I started wargaming business, because why it's cheaper to buy in a shop than to buy from the company, but it is this way. For example, Warlord games, bolt action is similar. By the way, this is something of these knights. You see this, that's our Space Marines, and that's the one 500-point knight. So what do next? You have decided you have to build your first model. Yes, you like it. Build a 500-point army. Build an easy list, so don't have 20 different data sheets, 20 different models. For example, if you play guard, build a few Cadian shock troops or infantry squads. Don't build, well, that's an infantry squad, that's a Kadashan squad, that's a Death Corps squad, and that's a Cadian squad, because you have to know the rules. And if you have a lot of different models, that's the next point. It's much harder to know all your rules if you have too many different models in your army. Or you looked up something from other people, which combos use this unit to buff this unit to buff this unit. In the game you probably forgot this anyway, so make it easy. And before you build any models, look for the rules. For example, if I build my first bolt action models, I give them too much MGs, and so I can't use them in bolt action, or have to build some other models. And that's something to look up. For example, if you have these guardsmen, you can play them as infantry squad, then they can have one special weapon, that's a plasma guard, for example. Or if you play them as Acadians, then they have two special weapons. You don't see another special weapons. Or if you build an infantry squad, a sergeant can have other weapons than you build a Acadian squad. It's not that important for the game. If you play the first time and you say, well, that's 10 guardsmen and one have a last gun and one have a plasma gun. Yes, that's not really important for the first game, but you should consider this. And then you have to find your first game. You probably get massacred in your first game. Don't That's what is probably normal. If you now start to play Warhammer, you will play with people who do this for 10 or more years. So if you buy a new or old video game, you probably lose your first games too. So yes, so probably will be a big skill gap between you and older player, another player. But that's don't be don't take this too personal. It's just a learning experience, in my opinion. I will probably make another video today or in next days about how find the game and what we have to talk before the game. It's a little bit like casual game or narrative game versus competitive game, and that could be useful for you too. So if you like what I do, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you have another idea what is important for new players, just write it in the comments. If I will probably make a new video like this in a few years or something, and then I will include something, if you have some new hits. So bye bye.